Oh, what's up, Philadelphia sports fans? I am Anthony Pinto,
And I'm Greg Hall.
and we are War Room Philly. Welcome to the War Room. While the cat's out of the bag, special guest Greg Hall.
I'm
How
back.
you doing tonight, Greg?
Uh, I am on cloud nine, baby.
The last time we talked here on air
hmm
was trade deadline, right after trade deadline, right?
Did I come on for that? For Thor and all that?
I'm pretty sure, right?
It was NFL draft, and then I did one more since the draft.
It
So
was.
that
I
very
was gonna
well
say
might
it's
have been
either that or it was right before the deadline. It was either before or it may have been the week before the deadline.
very, very
Um,
plausible.
I remember some heated debates between chat and us, and those debates were. Oh, I almost closed the stream. That would have been an interesting way to start things.
Some
Uh,
of those debates included the Phillies' record and/or playoff appearance.
Yeah,
So
and I distinctly remember a big talking point of yours, and we'll get into it, being first and foremost that the Brewers simply weren't good enough.
mhm.
And well, guess what? They weren't. Phillies are in the playoffs, baby. The Phillies are in the playoffs. And the last time the Phillies were in the playoffs, we were a brand new podcast on probably what, Stickam?
stickam.com/the War Room.
Stick it. And shout out to Joe, who is in chat. I see him, who brought up Ustream very recently.
Yeah,
Uh,
Ustream was our second home.
yeah.
And when we picked Ustream, I actually suggested Twitch, and Twitch was brand new. It was Justin TV right
Oh,
before, and
yeah.
then it
Oh,
changed to
my.
Twitch. And I said, "Hey, dude, we should try this Twitch thing." But Twitch back then wasn't for boobies and chatting. It was just really for video games. So there wasn't really a space for like let's hang out and talk sports on Twitch. So we opted against it, and now mea culpa, full circle. Now we're on Twitch
Yeah.
rocking and rolling, but like, and what a great place
Those
this
Ustream
cesspool
days
is.
were the best, though.
There's nothing better than I see me. Stickам's the best. The
Yeah, either
Stickam,
one. Yeah, those because for us in particular, we used to pull some like London fans and like those
mhm.
Flyers post games that we would do. Oh, back when we were so young, we could do Flyers post games. Those were the days.
I was 23 when we
Oh,
started this. I'm
those were
34 now.
those were the days.
Those are also the same ages since the Phils have made the playoffs. So
It's
it's
insane.
wild to think that. As a matter of fact, very small, quick Stickam story. I heard of Stickam back in college in 2008. I started my very first radio show at my university called The Sin Bin. And
Oh,
of
I
course it was,
remember that.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so, and
Oh,
my
it's gonna be some
first
member
night,
berries tonight.
my first night ever doing the show, episode 1, was the night Obama won the election. So we had nobody listening because there was just better things going on, and my dumb brain didn't realize maybe I shouldn't do a show the night of the presidential election in 2008. And I had used Stickam as like a backup because 2 weeks prior I was on a show doing a co-host thing called Inside the Ring. I was one of the 4 hosts of the wrestling show on Stickam. They put us on the front page, and we got 20,000 people watching our live stream. And since then, I was like, I'm gonna use you forever in hopes they just throw us on the front page. It never happened, but man, I miss the old Stickam days.
Yeah, one day, War Room Philly will be up on the front page of Twitch, one day. But Joe in chat real quick because we while we're still opening up. Joe in all caps, by the way. I can feel the excitement through the keyboard. Playoff baseball is back with a bunch of Ks. The Eagles are undefeated. The Sixers are about to start soon. In fact, I think there's a preseason game going on currently. The Unions start their unfinished business, and I can't help but notice, Joe, there is one team that you so distinctly just left off, and yeah, it's kind of we
At
haven't.
least he doesn't have him tattooed on his leg like me.
Hey, they'll be back in 10 years or so.
And my tattoo will still be there. I'm a shorts man. I don't wear long pants. It doesn't fit me. I don't do it. So like everywhere I go, it's just sticking out like a sore thumb. Like I gotta wear it like a girl who's walking the walk of shame.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's just like, before I forget too, Union, the whole like redemption arc that they're going on, they made it to the conference finals last year, but they had a bunch of players go on the COVID list the day before the game. Almost half their starting lineup they weren't allowed to play. So we got boat raced in the conference finals. Now we're the best team in MLS, or at least one of the top 2 or 3. And, they're odds on favorites, I think, besides maybe LAFC to win the MLS Cup. So good stuff happening in Unionland, unlike the hockey team.
Yeah, I saw there's going to be like a new megaplex that they're building along the waterfront as well.
It's a shame that it's going to be in Chester right next to the stadium, because that's just a landfill basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it looks great. Outdoor practice fields and mini field. It's like the Sixers' new facility without a roof. It's going to be beautiful. It's just I don't know why they picked. I mean, I do know why, because their stadium's in Chester. It'll be right there, but that's a weird thing. I would have loved to see that maybe a little bit somewhere else to give fans that like don't have to drive past the stadiums to get down 95 to get to Chester.
Yeah.
Maybe something a little closer to more of the fan base in the city. But, beggars can't be choosers there, I guess.
Yeah. But so it's look, the Union are rolling. Like Joe said, everything except for one team is rolling right now in Philadelphia. And yeah, it's gonna be predominantly Phillies and predominantly Eagles tonight. But if there's anything else that we need to float around, because you mentioned Flyers talk earlier, Greg, and have we talked on air about torts since all right, then we have to talk about the Flyers as much as I don't want to. Well, we can get that out of the way quick too.
I think I know when I came on.
Okay.
It was after the Goudreau didn't get signed thing, and I came on to lose my mind about it.
Yeah.
And so we did talk Torts,
Okay,
because Torts was already the coach at that point. And I just said, hey, here's some trade deadline preview stuff for MLB. So we actually haven't talked since Marsh, Robertson, Thor, but we did talk Torts. Yeah. I don't understand the direction of the Flyers. I don't want to understand them. Their freaking opening night season opener is locked to Hulu and ESPN Plus. Like, we can't even watch it locally unless you have one of those streamers. If that doesn't tell you, I feel like the Jaguars who get their like local games blacked out for so many years because nobody watches. So,
yeah,
it's a
I
weird
do
feeling.
have Hulu, but I don't think I want to watch the Flyers.
It's a shame. I'm gonna watch the Thursday night football game over the Flyers opener. It'll be on the iPad, but it'll be on the iPad. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Unless the Phils are playing.
I just don't know how much I want to pay attention. I see what you did there. I just don't know how much I want to pay attention to the Flyers this year, and that hurts to say. I got to be honest.
I'll give them a month.
Yeah. See,
they have to earn.
I'm more like in a month I'll check in, and then that'll be it.
You never know. They could make an early splash, get hot, stay hot. They don't have the top end talent on the roster. Coots is still out, so it's going to be a rough go of it. But Cam Atkinson's my favorite player in hockey, or at least one of my top 2. So when he got here, I was immensely excited, and I like to watch because of him. And I'm a Carter Hart defender, so I will watch him. Cam York got sent down today, so like there's that. So there goes your defensive prospect. Now we get to watch Kevin Connaughton. Ugh. So I'll give him a month, but they're going to be, the Connor Bedard sweepstakes are real, and that would be sweet if they are so bad that they can somehow get Connor Bedard. He is so dirty. He is a tick below Austin Matthews. He might be like Mitch Marner, and that would be franchise changing. So I'm okay if they want to stink hard for Bedard.
I'm in.
Stink hard for Bedard. There we go, baby.
The Flyers will miss out on Bedard like they did Kane. That's from chat. There's Joe.
We got JVR for the 9th time. Well, he's now back for the 9th time.
But
trivia question: who did we trade JVR for?
Trade JVR for?
Mm-hmm.
I have a few. Like, is there multiple choice here? Because I feel like you would.
No, this was off the cuff.
Because I have a few in mind. Was that like the Braden Shen? Was that Slew?
It was Luke Shen. It was Braden's brother.
Okay, all right.
Braden Shen came in from the Kings, I think, in the Mike Richards deal.
So then it was after that. Then either way, I was because I was asking. Like, I knew that Braden came in with what? Was it Couturier? No, Couturier was here long.
No, Couturier was
Braden came in with Voracek,
Wayne
right?
Simmons.
And Simmons. Yeah, Simmons.
Voracek came from Columbus.
But, all right, who did Oh, I'm talking about the Carter and Richards
Voracek came
deals. That's
over.
what I'm thinking of. Okay,
Yes,
I'm back a little bit. I got you.
Richards got us Shane
And Joe got
Shen.
it in chat, by the way.
Nice. Shen, Simmons, and I think a pick, maybe a first. I don't recall.
Yeah, I was
But
confusing my
the Bobrovsky deal got us the Couturier pick. I think it was the Bobrovsky deal. I know it got us Mason, and I think Voracek and Couturier, because we used the pick on Couturier, which I think was the number 13 overall. And that was Jeff Carter we traded, I think. It was Bob or Jeff. Did we trade Jeff to Columbus? I don't even remember. I think it was Carter to Columbus for Voracek, the 13th pick, which turned out to be Couturier. And my brain is so rocked with all those old Flyers trades. I'm ready to talk playoff baseball.
But yeah, as I was gonna say, I was floundering for a smooth transition. But yeah, we can let's not worry about the Flyers tonight.
Yeah,
tonight is about, well, look, we're gonna talk Birds, but tonight is specifically about the fact that it has been 11 years since the Phillies made the playoffs, and if you want to say, hey, they got in because of an extra spot, or that's fine. They got in. That's all that matters to me. And my mantra for the last, since trade deadline was, look, let's just get in and then we'll go from there. Well, here we are. We're in. So now it's time to go from there. Now that we're in, looking at the situation, everyone, for the most part, appears, a little banged up but healthy. Yeah, there's no major injuries right now. Like, you're not missing Wheeler, Schwarber, or anything like that. By the way, shout out to Schwarber for winning the NL crown.
home run crown.
Yeah, NL home run crown. Yeah, thank you for correcting that, straightening the cat. But yeah, it's so, I think there's reasons to feel good about this Phillies team going into it. Obviously, getting no hit into the ninth last night. It's a hangover game, but the bats have not been producing, although if you want to, they did the night that they needed to clinch. So to me, that's a good sign. But all in all, not necessarily playing their best brand of baseball going into these playoffs, but I think now that you're here, you kind of wipe the slate clean. And
dude. So like, first and foremost, to address the whole, are people mad because they snuck into a brand new wild card? Did you prefer baseball in 1980 when there wasn't one and there was like 3 teams that made the playoffs and you knew in June who that was going to be? Like, did you prefer that? Do you prefer only one wild card? Because if that was the case, Atlanta would have won it a month and a half, 2 months, 3 months ago, and we wouldn't even be talking about it, and we wouldn't have nothing to watch for the entire summer until the Eagles were back. Is that what you prefer? No, get off your high horse and let's enjoy the ride here. It's 11 years, ladies and germs. 11 years. And with that being said, yeah, you're right. The bats were inconsistent, sans those games, at least 3 of them against the Nationals, because anybody can come alive against the Nationals. But I think I said it in an offline group chat that you're in. It's like, with 11 years of pressure on your back and like September after September after September of collapsing, wouldn't you feel a little bit of pressure, and wouldn't you be pressing just a tad? The answer is yes. You're human if you do. And this team was clearly pressing, and they could feel it, feel the weight, especially after that Chicago sweep at the hands of the Cubs. Like, that pressure mounting of, oh my gosh, it's going to happen again. But when this team beat the Astros on Monday night, even after a Brewers comeback walk-off victory, that whole weight was lifted. And it's like they can breathe again. Me, I am wiping away the month of September. I'm going to think about the Phillies in June, July, August, when they played 600 ball in those 3 months, actually above 600 ball, when they went 22 games above 500 without their NL MVP Bryce Harper and starting second baseman Gene Segura. I'm going to think about the team that lost Zach Wheeler for 2 weeks and Nick Castellanos for a month, and their right fielder while he was gone hit 333. This is the team that I feel we're going to get in the first round. And oh, how poetic it is that on October 7th, 2021, the Philadelphia Phillies are going to play the St. Louis Cardinals, the team that on October 7th, 2011 They lost their most recent playoff game too. The only difference is it's now in St. Louis, which is the only thing that gives me pause. But boy, do I love the Phillies' chances against the Cardinals.
Yeah, St. Louis is baseball heaven, and they're gonna bring the home field advantage. Um, but nothing quiets a crowd much like a leadoff home run. And Schwarber's he's provided them, and most recently in a very big spot when the Phillies needed it most to clinch a wild card berth. Boom! First at bat, he gives Aaron Nola a one nothing lead. So you gotta love the fact that he's got a little bit of that going in. Again, looking for signs of just positivity rolling into these playoffs. So it's I tend to think that, like you were mentioning, I think some of these bench pieces that got to play a little bit as of late, they're probably a little more hot too. And if you need that clutch hit, you might have it off the bench, or it's gonna be interesting. But man, I'm excited, and like you said, wouldn't it be nice to, like, the Eagles are kind of not necessarily on this like redemption tour, but it's like they're just knocking off all the wouldn't it be nice for like the Phillies 11 years later to just get some revenge? And correct me if I'm wrong, I think their record against the Cardinals this year is not too bad.
They have a winning record against the Cardinals, the Dodgers, the Padres. There's three teams. The Braves, they were 8-8 against. They were 6-6. Then they got swept. Then they split. So if you take away that one sweep 2 weeks ago that they were in the middle of their real bad brand of baseball, they went 8-8 against the Braves, 5-14 against the Mets. That's one thing, but I don't know if the Mets get past the Padres. So like they have beaten the teams in the playoffs as well. They can play up to teams. We've seen that before. I think like what an advantage the Phillies could have here being on the road is one, they don't have to live up to the Citizens Bank Park being rocking from day one as much as that would lift them. And I'm sure it would. You also have that pressure of it's been 11 years. I don't mind the first games being away from home to get that kind of playoff experience rocking and rolling. And also, you have potential to go up 1-0 with a big home run in the top of the first. Like, how poetic is it that in 2011, and it's unfortunate, but Ryan Howard tears his Achilles. That's the last
I,
playoff memory we have. That was at the hands of the Cardinals. Chase Utley, Jimmy Rollins, Ryan Howard, Cole Hamels. That core essentially never tasted success after that and were ushered out. We have a chance to do that with Adam Wainwright, Yadier Molina, and Albert
oh
Pujols.
yeah,
My problem is everybody wants to see Albert Pujols succeed, and I'm like, boy, we're that team,
I
the team
love
that
it.
has to knock out Pujols in the first round, and like that's going to be the rough national perception and so I don't want to say the umps are going to squeeze the zone a little bit, but or expand the zone for him a little bit, but that's it.
Being the bad guy is nothing new for Philadelphia. We're used to it.
I,
Um,
yeah, I like their chances against the Cardinals. We match up. Their rotation just doesn't flat out scare me at all. Just doesn't scare me.
not when
You know,
you, not when
not in a
you,
short series
yeah,
too.
not when you have to go against no, or it's going to be Wheeler, Nola, Suarez.
Yeah, and they're going to counter with Wainwright, Montgomery, and Quintana, or maybe Michaelis. I don't know if they'll throw Wainwright in the short series because we've hit him pretty decent. We hit him hard one time. The other time he pitched pretty well. But like Michaelis, good right hander. Montgomery was on fire. Quintana has been fantastic. But like Jack Flaherty, another pretty good right hander that's healthy now. So while their rotation's good, it's not Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez good. It's just not. And in a short series, I like the Phillies odds against any team in the playoffs besides the Dodgers and the Mets.
Ranger got rocked his last few outings. He's been a little shaky. His most specifically his last outing, he got rocked last night.
Yeah, but who cares?
Any
That was
any
a literal hangover. Who
That's
cares?
that was my question. Is there any concern to the way he's been pitching going in? Going.
No, because he was really good. He has in his last 22 starts, I think it was, maybe it's 15. Since he came off the IL, he's got like a 2.88 ERA. If you take out yesterday's start, and yesterday's start was a literal hangover.
Mm.
So I'm not worried about it at all. I think clinching on Monday was great because it gave guys like Derek Hall, Nick Maton, Dalton Guthrie, Michael Plasmeyer to take down some innings today in the season finale. Like it gave those guys some at bats. It gave Harper a chance to lead off, get two ABs, and get out. And it's like that's great. Get Garrett Stubbs a few at bats. So like that's what I was looking for was to be able to get these guys who've been sitting on the pine just a chance to swing the bat. I don't care what they did or didn't do. It does. The results were pointless the last 48 hours. They don't matter. Since Kyle Schwarber and Zach Eflin and Aaron Nola and Bryson Stott carried this Phillies team to victory Monday night, nothing else has mattered. It's all about management and getting guys right and ready for Friday. I am so excited. My only thing I'm begging Rob Thompson to do is get Rhys Hoskins out of the 2-hole, please.
Music to my ears.
Put Alec Boehm in the 2-hole,
It's
please.
actually a point that I wanted to bring up today is I feel like throughout the year most people were, I don't want to say bitching about, but I'll say bitching about Kyle Schwarber being in the leadoff spot. And I was just like, man, my problem all year with the lineup has been where Rhys has been hitting. It just feels like Rhys gets hot, they move him up to the 2-hole, Rhys gets cold. Then you got to put him back down, Rhys gets hot, they move him up into the 2-hole. Just leave him. He's a natural 4 or 5 hitter. I feel like he just does his thing a little bit easier from down further in the lineup. But yeah, real quick, I see a bunch of a chat going on. So we got from Joe. He says Joe's feeling good. He says Phillies will beat the Cards, and then he says Castellanos better show up. Poker in the rear says they played the Cards when they were playing poor. That was, we were talking about that a little bit earlier, and they took care of business. Even against
they didn't
them.
play the Cards when they were playing poor.
I was thinking the Braves.
They played the Cardinals in July when they didn't have Harper.
When I read
they
that,
were on,
yeah, so they didn't have that. So
maybe when the Cardinals were playing poor.
Oh, okay.
I think he might mean because the Cardinals couldn't hit at all against us, but that's because our pitching dominated them. So yeah, maybe I think that person maybe means when the Cards were playing poor.
Yeah, it was a while ago, and then we got Nick in the chat. It says 1 win at a time. We got 13 to go. I love the speeches. Love the inner, like,
love the drinking the champagne.
Rob Thompson. Kyle Schwarber behind him. You like that?
Yeah, that's creepy as heck.
I loved the creepiness in his voice when he said that. I don't know why. And I was like, oh, we gotta look inside how things go down in the Schwarber bedroom.
I'm with you. I'm with you in the Schwarber leadoff thing. Like, he's not my prototypical leadoff man. He says he likes it, so Rob's like, sure, we'll put you there. That's fine. I'm a true believer that Kyle Schwarber would have 350 RBI in the 5-hole. That's just my personal belief. He would have 350 RBI this year, and he doesn't, because every homer he hits is solo. I think like 37 of them were solo. 34 out of the leadoff spot. I think now that's up to 37, maybe even 38. And so, like, he's got a boatload in the leadoff spot, and just I think about the damage he could do in the middle of the lineup. But at the same time, like, who are you going to put up there? Because when you want to start that game and need that big, giant, tone setter, he's a tone setter. He's the leader of the ball club. So if he's up there, it could be worse. He's hitting 288 over his last 22 games. Like, there's never been a day I thought I'd see Kyle Schwarber hit over 280 in any scenario. So that's been great. He's been crushing the ball lately. So I'm fine with that. I can't stand Rhys Hoskins in the 2-hole. It's just a rally killer. It's just a double play or a strikeout waiting to happen. Most likely when it was a strike and he got mad that it was because he thought it wasn't. And it's like, that's just what he does. He is a 6-7 hole guy for me. You know what he does? He just swap him with Boehm. I don't like that Boehm hits in front of Castellanos. I think Castellanos takes a little bit of ire with that. That dude's been like nobody interviewed him after the win. Nobody, like, he's just here, and it's just weird. Our $100 million right fielder is just kind of here. So I'd like to see him moved up and maybe a little bit more productive out of the 5-hole. Reese in 6. I think that could do some damage. I don't like the fact that JT's our cleanup guy, but he kind of has to be, and he's been hot. So, like, I guess you ride that wave out. But that to me, just, Schwarber, Boehm, Harper, JT, Hoskins, Castellanos, Marsh, Segura, Stott, like, could do worse, man. It's a pretty damn good lineup.
Yeah. Probably, like, that all being said, probably not going to see too many tweaks here in October.
No,
so
Reese will be in that 2-hole.
Yeah. Like, I don't expect anything to change at this point, but now it just comes down to production. If Reese wants to decide to just flip that switch and get hot like he does, now's the
Could
time
you
to do
imagine
it.
though?
Castellanos, all Castellanos has to do is show up in these playoffs and we're happy.
Hit
We forget.
hit 290.
Yeah,
That's it. Hit 290 with a little bit of pop. He had no pop this year.
hell, hit a
little bit of
game-winning
pop.
home run. Yeah,
He did it against the Braves. Like, just hit 290. Just do your job. That's it. Earn your $100 million contract.
Yep.
Earn it. That's it. I'm not asking you to go above and beyond. If you earn it, that's fine. This team goes as Reese goes. Like, when Reese is hot, this team is hot. When Reese is cold, this team has gone in the tank at times. So, like, as Reese and the starting pitching go, which I think is clear on the starting pitching side, but like, man, could you imagine if Hoskins got hot? Whew, that'd be crazy. But I'm not counting my chickens on that one. I think Reese is going to struggle a little bit here in his first round. I think it's a lot of jitters. He's the second most tenured, maybe third actually after Nola and Eflin. Third most tenured Phil. He's probably got some jitters there. So
Reese got a little choked up after the game.
I love that.
I like
did
seeing
love
that out of Reese.
I did that.
He
too,
got it,
yeah,
and I was
yeah.
like, God, don't do it to me like this, Reese. Don't do it
Him
to
and
me.
Jamie were hugging outside the dugout. I'm like, man, that's cool too. And then there was a video of all the Phillies' wives. Oh man, that was pretty neat. So yeah, I mean, the buzz is real. It's nice to have buzz around this baseball team again. It's just been so darn long. We've forgotten what it feels like. And then we get it Friday at 2:00 when no one's. It's like that's like the worst.
I already,
spot,
I already told management that I'm firing up the TV and the grill, and I'm gonna make dollar dogs gonna just be going down at the store all day.
Nice. I'm logging off a little early myself, and I'm going to enjoy a little playoff baseball on my couch, and that'll be that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Friday's my closing day too, so I'm there for the whole thing.
That's rough.
But,
first one in 11 years. But you'll watch Saturday night, I'm sure.
That's what I said. I said, first Phillies playoff game in 11 years, and you guys are making me come here for it. But all right. So, but yeah, need Harper to get hot. So yeah, look, they need balance in this lineup. So everyone's gonna have to chip in, and it's a short. Look, you got two games, maybe three to just get this going. It's a very short series. You have no time to mess around. Thankfully, you have Wheeler, who can go out there and maybe not. Look, what Aaron Nola did can we stop and pause for a second? What Aaron Nola did the other night was phenomenal. I was a little fan me at the time was a little butthurt that he was coming out. I thought that he still had a very look. Fan me. I like to point that. It felt like he still could have gone out and thrown 7-8 shutout innings. Looking back now, obviously hindsight, it was the right move. You even pointed it out in our group chat. Nola has a tendency to blow up. My biggest problem was that the dude had a no-hitter and Topper had the bullpen. I'm like, can you at least wait until he shows a little sign of weakness?
But it worked because if he would have waited, then he probably would have had to pitch.
This is why Rob Thompson knows more about baseball than I do.
Interim manager Rob Thompson.
No, he is the manager.
Give him a 2-year deal now. No lame duck crap next year. Give him a 2-year deal now.
He's the manager.
But
it's not.
Yeah. You're right. I mean, Nola was cruising, but like I said in the group chat, when Nola blows up, it like the dam comes down,
and I had
the floodgates
retort to that
quickly. And so, like, I get it too. Kyle Tucker's a lefty who can hit 40, 35, 40 homers and drive in 100. And he's, and then you have the best lefty reliever since prime Billy Wagner on this team. So, I was okay with bringing Alvarado in because I didn't need the perfect game. I'm happy he gave us what he gave us because that shut every single anti-Nola except for a couple. I think David Murphy, that idiot who writes for the Inquirer, was like, he only went 6 2/3. It's like he said that. It's like Roy Halladay would have gone more.
22, right?
He said Roy Halladay would have done more. Like no one said Aaron Nola is Roy Halladay.
Yep.
Roy Halladay is the greatest pitcher I've ever watched in my lifetime. Yep. So I don't think I was ever looking for Aaron Nola to be Roy Halladay. I just wanted him to not be 2020 and 2021 Aaron Nola. And he gave us that. He gave us an ERA in the 2s and a damn perfect game going into the 7th in his last start of the year, which got us over the hump. Zach Wheeler, by the way, I think 2-0 against the Cardinals this year, hadn't give up a run in 14 innings. 7 innings shutout both times.
Wheeler's going to be his first playoff start.
Yeah, dude, we get playoff Gene, playoff JT, playoff Nola, playoff Wheels. JT and Gene Segura, the two longest tenured players in baseball to not play a playoff game, both on this team, both drafts now over. Like
Yep.
that's poetic, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm I cannot wait to see what Zach Wheeler does on the mound for his first playoff start. I mean,
Give up 3 runs in the bottom of the first.
we also
I'll
we
be
all saw
pissed.
what Doc did in his first. Since if we want to go back, if we want, that's the Roy
Oh
Halladay
man.
one. You should be bringing up. Not saying oh
Shoo.
well, but Nola went 6 2/3. Roy Halladay, blah blah blah. No,
Doc with
let's
the
talk
no
about
hitter, huh?
Wheeler going maybe. You said, all right, I see Nola doing it. I'm going to do it in the playoffs. I'm going to go 5-6, maybe perfect before I let up a hit.
If Wheels can give you 7 because he's still fresh off the IL, if he can give you 7 because he hasn't gone 6 yet, I'd be over the moon with 7. 7 innings, 2 runs should be enough to win game
I
one.
just got
With the
chills.
back of the bullpen, Alvarado and Eflin, like that's a shutdown back of the bullpen. And I didn't even have to say Sir Anthony or Robertson, who haven't pitched in a while and are fresh. Like now you have 4 legitimate options at the back end of your bullpen. That's what Zach Eflin can bring to this playoff roster. Bailey Falter, because he only pitched an inning today, he's going to be a reliever. He could, piggyback, not piggyback, but he
Syndergaard
could
gonna
be
make
an
the
inning.
Is Syndergaard gonna make the playoff? Will he
I'd be
be a
shocked if
reliever?
Gibson does. I'd be shocked if Kyle
Ooh, yeah,
Gibson does, but
that's a
Thor
good
will.
point.
Um,
So
yeah,
so then would he be your fourth starter, Syndergaard, or would he be a reliever and you're just gonna roll three?
I personally, because you don't need a fourth starter in the first round because it's only a 3-game series. So I would imagine he'll be a long man if necessary, just like Bailey Falter. He'll be the right hander. Like that, if we need it, the 5 or 6 inning guy. If we need it though, that's a problem in a short series. You kind of can't need that. Maybe with Ranger in game 3, but then again, that's rough if you need a long man
It's
in
your
game 3.
decision game. Yeah.
So I they're both going to make the roster. I don't think Kyle Gibson does. He just doesn't have it. His ERA was older than my age this month, and so like he's just not there. He's not a
It
good pitcher.
it's
He never
crazy.
was.
I like it. He felt like he was a steady force for a while throughout the season, but it just fell off. Like, look, I'm not when I say force, I'm talking in Kyle Gibson terms. You would
Yeah,
know that he was going to get you 6, let up 3 runs, and you'd get the win. But man, it has just fallen off for him.
Gibby would go 2 good, 2 bad, 1 really good, 1 terrible. That was kind of his like thing. But
Fourth,
I
fifth
think what
starter.
broke him. Yeah, exactly. He's a fifth starter,
Yeah.
right? I think what broke him was that Sunday against the Mets when they pitched some kid Buto who'd never pitched a major. We went up 7-0 in the first, and he gave it right back over the next 2 innings, and we lost that game. And so, with a 7-0 lead, the same team that no hit us against the same team we blew a 7-1 lead in the ninth. So like that started the free fall for me. And then September showed that obviously because he had a 929 or 957 ERA.
I caught one where he let up about 10 against the Blue Jays.
There you go. There's another one. I was at one of his starts this year. He went 7 shutout against the Marlins. No, 7 innings, 1 run, I think, against the Marlins.
Yeah.
And Garrett Stubbs hit a walk-off homer with 2 strikes in the ninth.
There you go. You saw Stubbsy with the walk
I
off.
was 3-0 this year. I saw opening day against the A's. I saw the 10-0 game against the Angels, where Nick Maton unfortunately got hurt, but Bryson Stott, Schwarbs, they all went deep. And then I saw that Stubbsy game. So yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe I should go to these games. I'm undefeated.
I got one win this year, and that was when Murph and we
Oh,
saw
geez,
win.
that game. That was a doubleheader, wasn't it? Against
We
the
saw.
Mets. It
We
was the
saw. It
Saturday
was
night before the Gibson blow up on that Sunday.
yeah,
You were there the day before Gibby blew up.
yeah. It was the only game they won out of that
Mhm.
4-game series.
That's right.
But yeah. Moving back in. Brandon Phillips throwing the bat on the ball. Shoot. We're going way back there. Yeah, Brandon
That's the
Phillips.
2010.
Yeah. Hey, that's last time. I was 2010. I guess that's not the last time, but yeah, it's been a while
It's
since
the last time we won a series.
it's been a while since this team has got to make these memories, and I'm just like relieved. And the best part about it is, again, going back to like the celebrations, anytime someone had a microphone in their face, it was, this was step one. Everyone was very much aware of the process and how, this isn't over yet. So for Phillies fans to be saying, hey, we can beat the Cardinals, and, obviously the X's and O's show that they have this year. If the Phillies can wipe the slate clean, like I think good teams do once you get into the playoffs, and I'm not saying that the Phillies are, a good team, but they're in the playoffs, so they're a good team. I think they're going to wipe the slate clean. And look, the Cardinals are going to be playing their best too, so maybe at the end of the day, they just get knocked off to the better team. But I want to see them go and at least give a fight, and I think that's coming. As far as, like, why do I feel confident in it? I think Schwarber, I think Harper are absolutely going to show up. Do I know about Reese? No. JT, feeling pretty good about. I think he's turned things around. This offense is looking good, and Bryson Stott just turned the switch on just like nothing. You were complaining about it in the group chat, and then like next day, he did what you asked, and he started making actual contact with the ball.
Yeah, my big thing with Bryson Stott was when he was in his like 1 for 38 slump there. Everything was a pop up to the opposite field or foul. Everything. And all I said was hit line drives. And then there you go. Like the next day.
He was like in the group and he's like, shit, that's a good idea.
Yo, I'm on my live. And it's like, and he started hitting line drives and a couple of them left the ballpark. And it's like, you see what this kid can do. And he's so steady and so even keeled. That's once he got off that offer and like lifted that monkey off his back, now he's back to being Bryson Stott. And I had an argument earlier in the season around June with a friend of ours, and he's not a Bryson Stott man. I hope since then he's changed his tune. But I said, why? And he's like, because he's hitting 180. And at the time he was. But it's like, it's 2022. Are you really the baseball fan who looks at batting average still? And like, that's it. That's like saying ERA is the only thing that matters or wins. It's like, batting average is not the only thing, or Kyle Schwarber would not be the leadoff man. And you look at all the things Bryson Stott can do. He's very much like Ranger Suarez to me. Always here, never here, never here. Just always remains here. The moment doesn't get too big for him. He has success off of lefties. He can hit those. He plays outside of the yips that he had this past couple of weeks. This past 5 games or so, he's gotten his defense together. Even in the pouring rain against the Nats, he made some unbelievable spinning plays. One of them won the ball game. So I against Cesar. So like, I have the utmost confidence in Bryson Stott. And oh, by the way, he's the 9-hole hitter. We're talking about the 9-hole hitter on this team. That's a beautiful problem to have when you're talking about a lineup and your biggest question is the 9-hole hitter.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that's a question. So I guess like
Reese is a bigger question than him.
I was
to
gonna
me
say, yeah, that Marsh, like
nah, Brandon Marsh is awesome, dude. He's hit 290 since he's been a Philly. Like, he's awesome.
Yeah,
he's I love that trade. I
almost,
will always love.
I almost would like Marsh in the 9 holes so that he can kind of be the leadoff hitter.
I'm good with Marsh in 7.
Stott's another good one where he's he can kind of get on and he's not an anchor.
Yeah, Stott doesn't strike out a lot. He only struck out 6 times in like all of June or July. He's not a strikeout guy. Brandon Marsh is. So like from that perspective of like keeping it going and trying to turn the lineup over, I wouldn't mind the flip-flop. But when Stott was over 38, you couldn't hit him 7th.
Yeah.
And then that's when Marshy got hotter too. So it kind of just stuck. And like Rob's a stick kind of guy. Rob is very much like Charlie. He's very loyal to the lineup. Where we saw Girardi flip it every day. I think he only had the same lineup like 3 times. So like, I don't mind Philly Rob doing his thing of sticking the lineup where it needs to be. And I like Marshy in 7 because he can give you some pop too. But Stotty in 9, I think gives you not an automatic out. And like, he doesn't strike out. The chances are he could turn the lineup over now that he's not popping everything up. So I like that factor. We saw it in Houston with the back-to-backs with him and Schwarbo. It was just great.
So while we're just kind of winding down, how do you actually feel about the Phillies going into this Cardinal series?
It's a good question. If it's a 7-game series, I might feel different because then you're guaranteed to throw Bailey Falter or Noah Syndergaard. And we don't have to do that. We get to throw our guys, Wheels, Nola, Ranger. Name a better three-headed part of rotation besides the Mets and Dodgers. Like, you really can't, and at least in the National League. And so, like, you know, I want to try to hide the bias, and I think, like, I'll give you the part where I'm not feeling good. I'll start there. Where I'm not feeling good is I get a lot of '07 vibes against the Colorado Rockies when we got swept. I get some of those vibes because this is the first time in forever. You can't expect a team to just make it and go. Like, they need that experience. And when you look at our core, Wheeler, Nola, Reese, JT, Eflin, Segura, Marsh, like, this is Stott. It's going to be their first time ever
Giggity.
in a playoff game. Ever. So, like, a ton of our core has never had this type of game before. Where I'm okay or feel better about that is the people that are Nick Castellanos, Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper. They have. Kyle Schwarber has been to the top of the mountain. So, like, I think that actually might have been the season he broke his leg. I can't remember if he was playing in the 16 World Series for the Cubs or not, but he's got a ring. So, like, and he's just such a great leader, and I feel like he's that calming presence. And they also have this whole thing of, like, what do they have to lose? Just go out and play baseball. You have horses at the top of your lineup. You got a great new back end of the bullpen now with Eflin being such a dynamic weapon that I'm feeling good. I'm feeling that they can beat the Cardinals. And then from there, we get to see a home playoff game potentially. And we play the Braves, who, my shtick. We were 6-6 until we got swept, and then we split. So you take out that sweep where we were at our lowest of lows 2 weeks ago, and we were 8-8 against the Braves, and they don't have Spencer Strider right now. To me, top 10 pitcher in the National League. So, anything can happen when Jake Odorizzi and Charlie Morton are starting in a playoff game against you. So I feel good.
Yeah. And I just I had a thought, and then I just saw Philly Murph in chat. Boys, we made it. We here. Yeah. I think that it weirdly it might play into their favor, the fact that they're away this whole series, because what would electrify Philadelphia and Citizens Bank Park more than a series win and bringing this home? And I honestly think that is a little, dare I say, wild card within the series. Is they have this huge sense of motivation to play, to bring a home series to Citizens Bank, and again, I almost think that this young kind of ignorance can just work out for them. We're like, oh, we're here, and the fact that they're away in this first series again, if they can, if the bats, especially in early on in games, can get out to it, they can quiet that crowd, and then it's just baseball. And like you said, there's almost less pressure on them for a series. And I think for this team in particular, it almost works in their favor that they're not home for this first series.
Could you imagine if game one was at home and they get shut out for 5 innings?
It would be tense.
Be tense. And so you're on the road, that you don't feel
but
that.
you win a series and you bring a game, then whenever you're home, it's just going to be electric because, we all thought, hey, we might be a playoff team, but I don't want to, not that like, we're like, oh, they're not going to win this, but no one like expects them to go further. But now that they're here, like, oh, well, we certainly can. So yeah, it's, for me all year, my mantra was I just need to get in.
Yeah. I think you'll have the MLB Network and the ESPN idiots. They'll be picking the Cardinals and they'll say, Albert Pujols, go Cardinals. But like, when you look at the Cardinals team, top to bottom, Dylan Carlson, good player. Tommy Edman, like scrappy, good player. Nolan Arenado, obviously. Paul Goldschmidt, obviously. But like, Goldschmidt's cooled off in September. Arenado's hit like 214 this month. Now, they could just like this flip that back on, and they could say, all right, it's playoff time. But like, they're struggling. And Wheeler again, 2 straight 7-inning shutout performances, and Nola coming off the best start he's ever had in his career. So you gotta like the chances, especially if we steal game one. I won't say like I'm calling a sweep, but would it shock you? I wouldn't be shocked if they sweep. I also wouldn't be shocked if they get swept in a couple like 3-1 games. But like, I would not be shocked if they swept this series and didn't even have to wait till Sunday.
No, it's like I think I saw in chat. Yeah, there it is. As long as the offense hits, we can take this series. Like, yeah, that's cliche, but like that's really what it comes down to because you know what your two game 1 and 2, you know what you're getting out of your pitchers. Like, I would be stunned if I see it's 6-0 in the third in an Aaron Nola start or in a Zach Wheeler start. Like, I would be stunned. You kind of know that you're gonna get 6, 7, 1 to 3 runs out of those guys when we come playoff time. So that being said, 1 to 3 runs. If your offense can go out there and get you 4, which is reasonable, yeah, you're gonna win. So it's super simplified. But if your offense shows up, this team is going to win this series because especially in game 1 and 2, you just flat out know you have 2 aces going.
And I don't want to oversell this, but I also don't want to undersell it. Ryan Helsley, who is the Cardinals closer and just flat out one of the most dominant pitchers I've seen in a while. Effortless 101 with movement, like effortless, kind of like Alvarado right now. He hurt his finger on his throwing hand. He jammed it in, and he said it felt like when a basketball rebound skips off the tip of your fingernail. And now, granted, he's got a couple days for him to rest up. But if you got to grip a baseball after that type of finger injury, and you got to throw a baseball in your playoff debut, I could see you maybe loosening up off the velocity, like sacrificing velocity for location. And that could play into the Phillies' favor as well. I mean, like, I'm not saying they destroy good closers, but Josh Hader, Edwin Diaz, both those guys had 40-inning shutout streaks that the Phils ended. And quite frankly, the 2 homers off Hader are the literal reason the Phillies are in the playoffs right now. So I gotta say, the Cardinals bullpen could be something to watch as well if Helsley does continue to feel that finger injury linger into the old finger linger. If it lingers in the Friday and Saturday. I just like their chances. I'm not gonna call a sweep. I'll call a 3-gamer. Steady Ranger versus Jordan Montgomery and or Jose Quintana and or Miles Michaelis. It doesn't matter to me. I think I think we will win the series. I wouldn't be shocked in a sweep, but I'll go with 3 games because I think that's the safe pick in a short series. Plus, boy, would that be exciting, man.
Ranger Suarez in a deciding game worries me a bit. Again, solely off of his last month of pitching. Wasn't necessarily his best. That being said, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, and I had been meaning to mention this point kind of a couple times in the show, and I'm glad I still can bring it up organically. Ranger Suarez just strikes me as a guy that doesn't. I almost want to say he's oblivious to the moment.
He is
In the best way possible for a pitcher. He's just gonna go out there and he's just gonna be pitching another game. Pressure and stuff like that. He always he could let up 6 and he just seems unfazed. And again, in the best way possible for you want that out of a pitcher. That's what Nola was bringing the other night. Nola just it wasn't unfazed, but Nola had that ace. You could see his Super Saiyan aura around him. He just had that Goku thing around him on what was it, Monday night. You just I hadn't seen that. Was you saw Hamels, you saw Doc on the mound in Nola that other night, and I think you're gonna see something like that with Wheeler game 1. But when it comes to Ranger, he just seems like he's just so just oblivious to the moment, and Bryson Stott is very much the same way, and it's kind of how you link the two together. And again, these young guys are gonna contribute. And that ultimately might be the deciding factor in what pushes the Phillies over the top in this series.
I pushed back slightly earlier when you said Ranger was struggling. I had said he has like a 2.88 since, coming off the IL or whatever. I just pulled up his last all of his starts for the season. And like it's not as bad as it seems because he gave up 6 yesterday across 3 innings. It sours the numbers. He has a 4.55 ERA in September and October. But again, it's literally because of that. Before that, 6 innings, 2 earned, 6 innings shutout, 6 innings, 1 run, 6 2/3, 4 earned. That's his
That's
last 5
probably
starts.
I guess that 4 earn must be the start that I'm
That
remembering.
was against Washington.
Yeah.
By the way, the Phillies won that game where he gave up the 4 earned. So he did that against Atlanta twice too. By the way, so like his 2 best starts of the month were against Atlanta. I mean, the guy's a big game pitcher.
Yeah.
He just doesn't know it yet. So
Again, and I mean it. He's oblivious, and it couldn't be more in our favor as Phillies fans.
I'm not buying the Jordan Montgomery was so good after the trade to St. Louis. I'm not buying it. The guy couldn't get past 5 innings with the Yankees. I think that we could get to him. Quintana, good left-hander, and obviously Schwarbo and Harper lefties. But that's where you lean on Reese and JT and Castellanos, and like that's what, and Segura. You kind of have to. Um, Michaelis never did scare me. He's a guy who'll go 5 in the playoffs. You know, Wainwright he's Adam Wainwright, but he's Adam Wainwright. He's 37 or whatever he is, and 39, I think actually. We've hit him before. We can hit him again. It's not. We're not talking about Scherzer and DeGrom here. We're talking about we're building up Miles Michaelis and Jose Quintana, who stunk before this year. So yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident. It's crazy. By the 3rd inning of Game 1, by 3:00 Friday, I could be singing a different tune.
Yeah, it was all good until it wasn't.
Yeah, pretty much.
Look, it's again. I think obviously we're fans, right? We're wearing Phillies like attire, so
Nah, this stands for Philadelphia. Oh man, never mind.
But like, but like biases aside, I do believe X's and O's wise when you stack things up, there's reasons for us to feel the way we do, and again it really for me it comes down to like a couple cliches: wipe the slate clean, and if the bats show up, this team's gonna win. It's just that simple.
See, I disagree. I think that this team can win on the backs of their pitching
Oh,
because I think. Good.
no, I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. I just think that if they show up, they're gonna win.
When we played St. Louis during the regular season in St. Louis, there was like a 2-1 game, a 1-0 game.
Oh, let's beat them 1-0 in a game.
And they beat us 1-0.
That's what I'm saying. I said it with
2011.
vengeance.
So like, and you got a starter that can go 7 shutout in Wheeler and Nola, and then like I said, Alvarado, Eflin, and then your next game because there's no off days. Can you imagine Wheeler for 7, Alvarado, Eflin in Game 1, Nola for 7, Robertson, Sir Anthony in Game 2? Because you now have 4 great back end options, 2 and 2. Your starter goes 7, which both of those guys realistically can. This isn't Bailey Falter and Noah Syndergaard, who we're lucky if they go 5. So, like, this is a legitimate option that Rob Thompson has. These 4 guys, you don't want to think too far ahead, but if you can get 7 out of your starters, the series is over. It's simple as that.
Eflin as a closer, it makes sense. I mean, he's just gonna throw sinkers. Like that's what you want.
They're gonna beat it into the ground. That's what he's gonna do, man.
You want out of reliever because you know that as long as he keeps it down, he's not gonna at least more than not give up the home run. He's gonna keep it on the ground. That's what you want out of your bullpen guys.
I don't need a closer that strikes everybody out. We have that with Alvarado. I need a closer who will throw strikes. And like Robertson has walked somebody in his last 63 outings. I don't trust Robertson, especially with men on base. He needs to start an inning and he just can't walk anybody. Sir Anthony's looked very human the past 2 months. And that includes a trip to the IL. So first half Sir Anthony, that was a different story. But also first half Alvarado, that was a different story. He got sent down to AAA. So I'm happy.
His AAA stint is so
Brett Myers-esque.
Yeah, yep. You stole the words right out of my mouth. Like it's, and I mean, what happened that year? I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but
I mean, if you want to think about it too, so is Zach Eflin because he was a starter, a
yeah,
right-handed starter, just like Brett Myers. You know, came up in the organization, although Eflin was traded here for Jimmy Rollins. But like, it's all kind of poetic. The starter finishing out the game to win the division, goes on and does his thing in the playoffs. Um, I just think that this team has the making to make some noise. I don't know how much noise they can make because again, I want to hide the bias, but like I'd be fooling myself. They got here. This is the 87 wins. This is one of the 15 greatest seasons in Phillies history, and they have 140 of them. Like this team's only made the playoffs 15 times. Like, okay, this is not a franchise where you can just rest your laurels. Like the Dodgers in the past 20 years have made the playoffs more times than the Phillies in the last 100. So I'm I'm going to enjoy it, but I also want to be a little bit realistic. It'll be a tough go, but I think they can squeak this out for sure.
yeah. I agree. Again, I don't want to like. I almost think that it's Phillies in two, or they might lose this thing.
If it
But
goes to 3 with Ranger, I would say you're right. I mean, like there's a great possibility. The sweep is optimal when your 2 horses are on the mound.
yeah, and again, that's just it's not a knock on Spencer, or it's not a knock on Ranger Suarez.
Spencer
I don't even know.
Howard.
I don't even know where what Spencer where that name, but
Spencer Howard, baby.
I don't know. But it's not a knock on Suarez, is what I wanted to say. But
Yeah.
Spencer came out. Uh, it's just how much I believe in Wheeler Nola.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, again, this is it all starts Friday afternoon. It's I can't wait.
Can I hit you with my Phillies trivia questions?
Yeah, let's do that, and then we can do some, like, if there's anything else on the Phillies, we can get that, and then we can start doing some birds talk. I think.
Yeah, so chat, give us your predictions for the Phil's Cardinals. Give us your bomb player of the series. We'd love to hear that.
I love it.
We've never done that for the Phillies because bomb player wasn't around when the Phillies made the playoffs. So that's exciting. And what we're gonna do is I asked Anthony if it'd be cool whenever I come on to bring some trivia questions with me. So I have 7 or 8 questions. Only 5 of them are on the Phils. So because we're talking Phils, I'll leave it. I'll just do the Phillies questions for now. I'll skip the Flyers and Eagles ones. But please, by all means, if you want to answer in chat along with it, please do. Anthony, my ask of you, just don't look at chat. That's it.
Yeah, we can. I can make that. Let's do this. I'll make them.
Just don't be tempted to look at chat. And these are not multiple
I'm gonna
choice.
minimize chat for the trivia section.
Yeah, this is not multiple choice. This is not like the podcast where I give 4 horrible answers. This is just you know it or you don't.
I can't get an extra half. What's it? A half a point for
Half a point. That's funny.
I'll
I'll
look for
give
it.
you hints as best I possibly can if you need one. But here we go. 5 Philadelphia Phillies trivia questions. 4 of them are playoff related. One of them is just a fun random thing. Question number 1. Joe Blanton hit a home run in the World Series against the Rays. What pitcher did he hit the home run off?
I was hoping you would say what team did he do it against. uh,
Right-hander, started for like, I'm not making this up. I think he started for 11 different teams in Major League Baseball. He is a journeyman.
yeah. See, my memory ain't too good with these.
I'll just keep giving you small hints along the way, and then if you don't get it, you don't get it. EJ.
Is it Jensen?
No.
Jansen? Something? No.
Nope.
Yeah, oh, man. I'm gonna hear it and then kick myself, but I can't remember it right now.
Edwin Jackson.
Edwin Jackson. All right. Oh, you
Edwin
know what? Wasn't he
Jackson.
a guy that like the Phillies that were kicking the tires on at one, like, not too long ago?
I believe he signed at least a minor league deal with us at
Yeah.
one point. I mean, he signed a minor league deal with everyone.
Yeah,
I think he
you
was
did
with us
mention
at
that.
one point.
Yeah.
Joe Blanton was the first pitcher since 1971 to hit a home run, by the way, in the World Series. All right, little easier. This one you might be right in your wheelhouse here. Brett Myers in 2007 against the Nationals struck out the last hitter to clinch the 07 division title. Who was that?
Oh man, you're really sporting how bad my memory is here.
I cried like a baby. I could never forget this if I had dementia. Like, this is one of the memories I'd be like, nah, God, like, I'm keeping it.
No, I'm keeping it.
Hint number 1. He's got 3 names. Blank, blank, blank. Middle name Mo. Blank, Mo, blank.
Little Mo with the gimpy leg.
Cliff, bony pad, cheeks, bony pad, Cliff. I could go on forever, baby. Chat got it.
You know, it's funny. You said chat got it, and this is why I took chat off the monitor because I looked. I'm like, wait, what?
Chat got it.
No, I don't know.
Willie Mo Pena.
Oh my! See that one.
You would have gotten that.
That one
I feel like if you would have just like zoned in.
The
now,
camera's on. It gets intense.
It does. Now you know how we feel.
Dude, now week. I know how all the candidates on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
This one's tough. I don't know if you're gonna get it.
I got this,
but it's a fun question. Do you remember Ben Lively? This is not playoff related. This is the one non-playoff question. Remember Ben Lively, starting pitcher?
Yeah.
He stunk, but he was, all decade drought team, if you will. Starting pitcher Ben Lively hit 2 home runs in 2017 as a starter for the Phils. What 2 pitchers did he hit those off of? Now, again, I don't expect you to know this, but I will give you a couple massive hints. They're both still pitching. They're both still high level starting pitchers, ace caliber. One of them is in our division.
Is it a playoff
the one
team?
of the both of these pitchers are currently in the playoffs this year.
Okay.
Yes, and they're both ace level, and especially one of them. Like, you should get the one in our division. One's right-handed, one's left-handed. The right-hander is in the NL East.
So it's a Met. It's gotta be a Met.
Could be a Brave.
Could be a Brave.
Charlie Morton's a real thing. It's not Charlie Morton.
It's not Charlie.
So, who's the best pitcher on the planet when healthy?
Oh man, I'm blanking everything. I just need to look up the.
Yeah, go ahead. Look up the.
I just need to look at. Oh, I just hold on. Are we still live? I just messed up my computer.
Well, chat got it.
There we go. Okay, I just
chat got both of them.
Signed down to my computer for a second. I thought we went off.
Nick got the lefty.
Scherzer.
DeGrom. Yeah, and the lefty's going to be more tough. The lefty pitched for the Arizona Diamondbacks for a while. He was dominant. A lot of strikeouts, got traded to the Toronto Blue Jays, I think, and then signed with the Mariners this offseason. So he's currently a Mariner. He's a lefty. A couple years ago, we'd be lucky if he went 5 innings, but he'd strike out 11. He won the Cy Young last year. His initials start with the same letter. I bet in my perfect offseason, I begged the Phillies to sign him. They did not, obviously. But he was my number 1 pitching target. RR.
Oh, Rodriguez.
No.
No. I almost dropped an F-bomb. We only do that for
It's cool. It's cool. You dropped the S-bomb earlier.
No, I do that all the time now. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Robbie Ray. Ray.
Okay, yeah.
Robbie Ray. All right, 0 for 3. You got to get one of these other 2. If not, I'm going to give you the Eagles question. It gets harder
as it goes on too, because now I'm feeling I'm sweating.
I'm gonna if you go 0 for 5, I'm giving you the Eagles one because you're guaranteed to get that. That one's a layup. Question number 4. What stadium did Ryan Howard hit his first major league home run in? It was not at home.
Citi Field?
I'll give it to you. Shea Stadium.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say, actually. Yeah, I literally saw the apple.
Yes,
in like
he hit it right to the apple.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one I do remember. Yeah.
Right center field.
I did mean Shea Stadium.
2006. There you go. All right, here's a fun one. The Phillies had the same starting pitcher toe the slab when they clinched the divisions in 07 and 08. What starter began both of those games? It was not Cole Hamels.
I think was it Brett Myers?
It was not. Brett Myers was the closer.
He was closer, and yeah.
It was not Cole Hamels.
Blanton wasn't here in '07. Moyer?
Nope. Yes.
Yeah.
Jamie Moyer started both elimination games or closeout games, if you will. So what are you, 2 for 5? I'll give you that.
Yeah, we got
2 for
we
5.
came on strong at the end.
You did. You went. It's not about how you start; it's about how you finish.
Just like the Phillies.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So that's it. That was the 5. I can give you the Eagles one, but that's too easy. I'll give you that one at the end of the show once we're done talking birds. This is a nice, easy way for you to get out of here.
There we go. All right, now I got chat back up too. Yeah,
chat was rocking, dude. They got Jamie Moyer.
Joe always has like the memory questions down. Joe's got a better memory than me, and I'm not
they didn't get Shea. You got
for some
that
reason,
one. You got that one quick.
Yeah, that one like I can like remember that highlight for some reason. Yeah. It's like Chase Utley, wasn't his like first hit a grand slam too or something like that? Like certain ones really stick out, but it's like for me, my memory, I can either see it as clear as day or it's just in the dark. There's no in between.
What team did Jimmy Rollins get that 20th triple against to get his 2020? 2020.
Dodgers?
No, it was the Nationals. It was that actual same last game in 07. He got it in his last at bat of the clincher.
I feel like he did something. He got one of them like achievements. I feel like against the Dodgers. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, he got that giant hit against Broxton in 09.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
that one of the best radio calls I've ever heard from Fransky on that. Oh my gosh. Rollins does it, and they stream out of the dugout. Oh my own. All
right, well, let's just shift gears now, and we're gonna head into some Eagles talk here as we're moving into deep into the night. But look, the Eagles are 4-0 right now, and it's not the fact that they're just 4-0. It's sort of the ways that they've done it in, and where week 1 it was sketchy but exciting, and really since then it's been a clinic. With the most recent game against the Jaguars, you go down 14, and I don't know. I never flinched as a fan. Even like I was like, they never really gave us time to get nervous because you went down 14, and then it was 14-7, and then it was like 29-7, where it was like 21-7, I think, at least, or
it would have to be 14 since they scored 14 points.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, 20. It was 29-14, or like
at one point it was 29.
So yeah, 29 unanswered against the Jaguars. And
good defense. Their best defense they played this season.
Yeah, sure. In sloppy weather. But that being said, like you could say that Lawrence couldn't hold on to the ball, but they were strip sacks. Like the defense was getting to him and causing them. It's not like he just was like trying to throw the ball and it left his hand. Like the defense got to him early and often. And as far as Joe was there, the weather was hideous. Yeah, that was a game that I was badgering Keith. Keith had a bachelor party last weekend, so he was like, I'm not going to that game. I was like, that's the game, we need to go to that. Then Sunday came, and I was like, I am so glad we're not going to this game, because I would have given the ticket away. But yeah, it was it almost felt like Miles Sanders. That was his like LaShawn McCoy snow game. That was like the rain game for Sanders. That was probably if not his best game of his career, one of. That felt like what was it, the week 2 performance was for Jalen Hurts. That's what last week or this Sunday was for Miles Sanders. So now for Sanders, it's just to keep going and just staying healthy. But he's shown that he's a feature back, and not only that, the runners. I mean, Trey Sermon comes in out of nowhere, and was averaging like 9 yards a carry. The run game looked great, and this Eagles team seems to be firing on all cylinders right now. Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I look at it pretty similarly, as a matter of fact, and Miles is, I think, like 3rd in football in rush yards, and he's on pace for his greatest season ever. He just had his best game ever, and oh, by the way, he needs to get paid at the end of the year. I wonder why. I think like against the Lions, him getting into the end zone for the first time in over a year really took that weight off. And like, I mean, Jalen took some touchdowns away from him last year, and that's fine. I don't care who gets in the end zone as long as we get there. Like he totally vultured him a couple times at the goal line, and it's like for Miles to get in, boy, that's great to see. And then twice more against Jacksonville, that's also great to see. So this team is just clicking on all cylinders. Hassan Reddick, really slow start. I mean, the whole defense had a slow start against Detroit, but since then has just been absolutely dominating. And Hassan Reddick came on so strong against the Commanders and then just dominates against the Jags to the point where he's the NFC Player of the Week, our third straight Player of the Week. I'm a Defensive Player of the Week, I should say, for the NFC. Slay, Graham, Hassan Reddick. I mean, when you're cooking with fire like this, it's crazy because the Phils play the Cardinals potentially on Sunday. The Eagles play the Cardinals on Sunday. This could only be the fifth time in history that the Philadelphia teams play the Cardinals on the same day. Eagles are 0-4. Phils are 2-2 on days where those two teams both play the Cardinals. I think we said offline, be happy to sacrifice an Eagles win for a Phils series win. I just hope it doesn't get to that and get to a game 3. If so, 1-5 sounds pretty good, or 1-4 and 3-2. It's crazy because like if this is pre-week 1, I'm sitting here looking at the schedule. I'm thinking, damn, I know that Hopkins isn't there. I know Hollywood Brown's been pretty good. Greg Dortch, pretty good player. James Conner's banged up. Kyler is Kyler, and that would have scared me. But now I'm looking at this and I'm saying to myself, on the road, we could win by 4 points. We could win by 6 points. We could win by 10. I mean, like this defense can just swallow you whole. Slay was a full participant in practice today with that forearm, so it looks like he's going to play. Mailata might not, but Driscoll played a hell of a left tackle in his stead. So, like when you just have that next man up at almost every position, Trey Sermon busts off a 15 or 14-yard run in his first attempt, like you had mentioned. I just love the fact that when somebody goes down, whoever steps in his place has just played great. It reminds me of the Belichick era Patriots from a next man up perspective without the cheating.
Yeah, and
so it's great to see.
Andre Dillard was activated as far as the 21-day practice window, so
he'll be back.
You could
in
have
3
some
weeks.
more depth, as far as the offensive line goes, and
he's trending to come back after the bye. They have a week 7 bye, so this is week 5.
Yeah, so and that's just going to be more depth to this line. So hopefully you won't need it, especially then in a couple weeks. But right now, this team's looking good, and you're talking about the Cardinals, and that's a team that you can take away home field advantage from them. I think something that gave the Eagles fits, and credit to the Detroit Lions fans in Detroit, was the home field advantage. And the Eagles could never take that away from Detroit. And again, that's a credit to the Lions. But I think that as far as the Eagles are playing a different brand of ball, albeit it's only been a few weeks, but specifically defensively, I don't see... Like, it's crazy to me that Jared Goff put up 35 points against this defense with how well they're playing now. And as far as Kyler Murray goes, he's a wild card, but he also can, if you can disguise some things, he can hold on to the ball for too long, and you can make him either make plays or make mistakes. We've seen him. What was the 1 2-point conversion where he had the ball back in the backfield for like 23 seconds or something, but he converted on that.
He ran like 108 yards.
Yeah, like he's a special player. Sometimes they're better, sometimes they're worse. I can tell you this though: the Cardinals are doomed because I have Kyler Murray and James Conner on my team, so that's why they're a bad team this year. I had
Kyler for 3 years. I moved on from him this year to Justin Herbert.
I botched it.
But
yeah, you're in a better situation there. Huh?
Kyler
Murray scares me. Yeah,
I'm very much 4-0, by the way. I just like when you think about it too. Josiah Scott, after Slay got hurt, stepped up. He played really well. Chauncey Gardner-Phillips or Johnson. I keep saying Phillips every time. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, learning how to play safety on the fly, doing very well. James Bradbury, God. What a pickup. Kaiser White, what a pickup. N'Kobe Dean doesn't have to play. It's not that he's like not playing.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to play.
He's a
That's a
third
good
round
thing.
draft pick. You don't need a third round draft pick to be starting if he's not ready.
Jordan Davis played the lowest amount of snaps he did all year, and that's not a knock against Jordan Davis. It's the fact that the other players on this line are just so dominant. The Eagles combined, when you look at their offense and defensive line, Andy had that philosophy: build from the trenches out. And when you look at this team, they're doing it. And I hate to say these words. I don't know if I've ever spoken 5 more evil words in my life, but give credit to Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel dirty saying it because I hate it, but like he's been amazing this year. Shane Steichen calling great plays. He's calling the game to Jalen's strength. I've yet to see Jalen have to flush out of the pocket, throw across his body, throw across the field. He did that one time to Quez Watkins and he completed it, but it was a penalty. I'm loving it. AJ Brown. What a calming presence. Let's just give me 6 for 90 every week. Like it doesn't even matter. He makes Devontae better. Dallas Goedert is steady Eddie. He's gonna get his 5 for 60 and a touch every other week. Like I just love the weapons this team has, the depth this team has, and I don't think the Cardinals have that. Connor again banged up. Kyler is the wildest of cards. He can make some brutal throws, but then he can do what he did against Buffalo and make that last second Hail Mary that Hopkins came down with. But again, we'll miss Hopkins. So this is all a good thing. It's trending to an Eagles victory. When I look at their schedule and I look at the teams coming up, I'm not suggesting they will be 11-0. But the first team that scares me is Week 12 against the
The
Packers. It's the
Packers.
first
I
team
know.
that
I thought the
scares
same
me.
thing. I looked at the schedule and I was like, if you now football isn't played like this, but if
Right.
you look at it and say the best team wins, at
Right.
that you don't come up to a what if until the Packers.
Right. This
Um,
Eagles roster will probably be different by then because of injuries
yeah.
and the trade deadline and all these things. So, but as of right now in week 5, the schedule is very forgiving and it's crazy. This team has to just go 7-6 the rest of the year to win 11 games.
Yeah.
That's wild to think that,
Yeah.
this is a 9-win team last year. You're talking about go 7-6 the rest of the year. You've beaten your pace last year by 2 games.
And
This is a playoff team almost no matter what at this point.
yeah, I mean they got so much better just as a roster, right? And then you take away, then you just dig into just one position, and that one position being Jalen Hurts, and the he's not even the same quarterback that we saw week 1. He's progressing week by week, and again, reasons like I've said it before, but going in before this season, he's showing why I was like, hey, I like this guy. I'm rooting for him because he's it's a couple weeks ago against the Vikings. First thing out of his mouth, we got to score in the second half. Same thing in and it's just he's always nitpicking himself. He's always looking as how they can get better before relishing in the moment. And I just think that's a really good trait to have out of a quarterback. Is he's just never satisfied.
Did you see Jalen's press conference today?
I did not.
His Wednesday press conference? It was crazy. So the clip that is going semi Twitter viral is actually from after the press conference technically ended. So all the reporters give their questions and whatever, and the moderator says, "All right, thank you, everybody. That's time." And Jalen stays at the podium and he says, "Hey, I'm paraphrasing here, but he says, hey, I just want to let you all know, after all these questions, you didn't ask me one time about the Cardinals. But I want to tell you they're a damn good football team. They got a great defense. They can do this. They can do that, yada, 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 yada. Let's not take this for granted. Let's not do that again. This is a damn good football team that we're about to play." And like, that's our leader. That's the mindset that this guy has. He doesn't want to take it for granted. He doesn't want to talk too much about himself. Very Chase Utley in that aspect. Never wanted to talk about himself. It was always the team. It was always the performance. And it was always giving kudos to the guys in the other dugout. Look at Jalen, same thing with the other sideline. And it's like, that's the leader that you want. Not the kid who would lock the quarterback's room with Press Taylor in there and play circle jerk. This is a guy that wants to win competitively and fairly and be a leader on and off the field. That's my QB1. I liked Jalen Hurts going into last year. I like Jalen Hurts a lot going into this year, but he's even outperforming those expectations. And like, he's a quarterback. How can you not fall in love with what he brings to the table?
Yep.
Howie nailed it again, dude. A cheap quarterback. That's how you win. You
Yeah.
win
Now,
by having a cheap quarterback.
look, when Howie drafted Jalen Hurts, he was not thinking that he was getting what he got right now. Let's be real.
Of course.
That being said, he did it.
Kudos to Howie, though.
Yeah,
Kudos
again,
to Howie.
look, that being said, he did it. And for where, look, we kind of talked about this last week. For where we were during the Doug Peterson firing, and when everyone was like venomous towards Howie, he deserved that. But he also deserves some props right now, where things are looking pretty good, and maybe more to come. But
let's also say though, let's not overreact. Like,
yeah,
it's been
exactly.
4 games.
Yep.
Teams have gotten off to good starts before. Teams have gotten hot for stretches and then come back down to earth. I don't want to overreact to 4 weeks, but I also look at this roster and I look at the schedule and I say it's kind of hard not to.
Yeah, I think
like they really are that good.
The reasons why it sounds like we're overreacting is because it's because of Jalen Hurts, and it's not just because he's winning. It's because we kind of knew he could win, but it's the way he's doing it. It's the way that he's hitting on these 50-yard bombs down the field, and it's the way that the play calling is again, it's worked around his entire game. And Hurts isn't just throwing to the right side of the field. It's to the right. It's to the left. It's screen passes to both sides. It's read options. It's running plays that he's creating, with his legs. He's doing it in a bit of all of the ways. And now it just comes down to consistency. And that's why, and that I think is the bring it down to earth, is now let's just see it on a week to week basis. Yeah, it's 4 weeks. It's great. Let's see this through week 9, 10, and when we're at the Packers, and when it's a shootout, and he's gonna be, it was nice to see him overcome a 14-point lead, but that was in the first half. What happens when you're down 14 in the fourth quarter? These are still tests that we're gonna have to see from Jalen Hurts.
What happens when he has to face adversity? What happens when he has a game like he did last year against the Giants, where he threw 3 picks? One of them was at like the 1 yard line, like first and goal from the 1. So like, what happens then? What happens when the Eagles lose? They're not going to go 17-0. It's like, what happens when they lose? How do they bounce back? And what happens when they lose to the team that they know they shouldn't? What if Washington comes in here and beats them? What do they do to respond to that? So like, it's things like that where I'm really, really intrigued. It would not shock me if they come out of Arizona 4-1 on the road, all the things we talked about already. Would not shock me. Get off to a slow start there, or maybe continue the trend of lackluster second halves offensively. Like, I could see that. Kyler has a lot of comeback magic, especially with the legs. So like, that could be a last second field goal, pretty brutal, heartbreaking loss that the Phillies would ultimately have to save me for mentally, or I couldn't handle it. And so like, I'm with you. This is not going to be a perfect season, but at the same time, man, the Birds in 2017, I get a lot of those vibes. That team went what? 11-2?
Yep.
12-2, whatever it was before that week 14. 12, I think it was 11-2 before that week 14 game against the Rams. It's like they lost to the Chiefs and in Seattle. Like, that team beat every team they should have and lost the 2 games you should have.
It's funny, and a lot of people then were going, yeah, but who did they beat? Yeah, but they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl. That's who they beat.
Right, you can't control your schedule. You play the teams that are in front of you. I mean, like, if I have to hear the Phillies beat up on bad teams one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. How many times can I say they beat the Dodgers, they beat the Cardinals, they beat the Padres, they beat the Mariners, they beat some really good teams? Eagles, same thing. And I think back, and it's like, man, how long has it been since you felt this good about a team? Because in 17, we were last place in 16. Like, it was such an overnight thing where at least this you had last year as a buffer. We made it to the playoffs, albeit as a 7 seed. We had a really good second half. And like, it kind of let you build up to this feeling where in 17, it almost felt like in the moment, I look back on that and I keep thinking to myself, besides that really good Panthers win on Thursday Night Football, it's like, man, I kind of just felt like lost in those moments. This, I'm in it. I'm hyped. I'm ready. Like, I feel good. I feel like the favorite. I don't feel like the underdog. I don't feel like these are upsets. I feel like I can go out and dominate a football game. And it's been a really long time since I felt that way. And that's a damn good feeling to have. So kudos to Nick Sirianni, that dog. Anybody who follows me on Twitter at Greg Talks a Lot, I'm a stupid Sirianni defender, and I have been since day one. I very much enjoy uh, 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 kind of that victory lap as much as, you know, I make a lot of other mistakes on that
Yeah,
application.
look, Sirianni. I mean, again, it was we were talking a lot about Doug Peterson because he was just in here last week, but Sirianni feels very much like a Doug Peterson, where he's quirky, and he's very much a player's coach. It's very clear that all of these guys rally around him, but what he is, and again, just like he's genuine. And it's like at first when you saw the shirts, you're like, what is, like you turn your head, but then you're like, oh, he's just a fan. He's a fan of his team, and it's like he for whatever you want, it's him, and it's what he is. And then on top of that, it's I think that he's a pretty sound offensive mind, and I think that this team and this program that they're building is, yeah, like you just said, it feels like something. When 17 happened, like I remember being in the moment, being like, this team's gonna be good soon. Like 17, it kind of felt like we shot our load a little too early. Not that I'm complaining, but 17, like it didn't feel real until we were there. This again, I don't want
That
to.
Broncos game where they won like 55 to whatever, that's when it felt real to me in 17.
Yeah, yeah,
And that was like 2/3 of the way through the season.
exactly. Like, and again, not saying this is a Super Bowl season, right? But just the makings of a solid football program. It feels like that, and anything further, we'll go from there when it happens. But
What
yeah,
what I love about Nick Sirianni, and like I said, day one on that bandwagon is, to your point, genuine is I think the most perfect and apt way to describe him, because you look at Bill Belichick, right? Like total turd, like loser, straight laced, like stupid cut off sleeves, answers everything by the book, stares in the camera, and knows that he's a great coach, but like doesn't give you anything. Then you go to the opposite end of that spectrum, and the first coach that jumps to my mind is Dan Campbell, crying at the podium, talking about like, just need you to get there. I believe in you. I do it. Like that's too damn much. You look at Sirianni, he's just like, my brother played receiver. I like my brother. And I'm like, that's your post game press conference. Brings his son up to the podium. Like he's a real dad. You know what I mean? He's the type of dad on Saturday wakes up in sweatpants, spills the coffee on himself, and says, oh, sugar. I did it again. Like that's the kind of guy I want to coach my football team. The guy who 6 days a week, like you want to be his friend on day 7, you want to run through a wall for him.
yeah,
And that's what I feel like Nick Sirianni is. And I love it. I felt a little iffy last year when I remember that Raiders game in October, and he just got obliterated from a play calling standpoint, got out coached by that Carson Wentz, John Gruden piece of crap. I was like, maybe I was wrong, and now it's this is what happens when you're patient with a guy and you don't fire him after one season and you just let it ride and let it go. And even in the last season, they were 2-5 and they came back and they had a great second half, albeit the schedule was what it was, but they made the playoffs. And if I think about the NFC, I personally still put the Bucks ahead of them. Call me crazy, but I put the Buccaneers ahead of the Eagles slightly.
even though
Slightly.
Brady just lost a ring.
Yeah, that's on his non-throwing finger though, so I think he'll be all right. I I uh, I think that the Bucks are a better team overall. Again, very slightly. I think that the Packers don't have the weapons we do, but they're the Packers. Like so, while I put the Eagles as a better team on paper, a better roster, definitely, more weapons, definitely. There's just something about the Packers, and I'm sure it starts with number 12, that they kind of are just right there too. The Rams are showing us that Super Bowl hangover, and when you have a quarterback that won't throw it down the field, they're just not going to be successful. San Francisco, sneaky good. We've beaten Minnesota. Dallas, I don't think is as good as Cooper Rush being 3-0. Their schedule's super easy too. But like they're the only teams in the NFC, and then the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC. So like, and probably the Ravens, um, maybe the Dolphins if Tua can get back pretty quick. So that puts them right in that 3-6 range in the NFL, because I'm one probably that 4-7 range, I'll say, because I'm definitively Bills, Chiefs, Bucks are better than them. Everybody else, you can make an argument for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to like debate a lot of that with you. The best thing I could say is preseason, I was kind of talking about it. And the big thing I said about this NFC in particular is, call me crazy, I just get a feeling that between the Bucks and or the Packers, one of those teams are just going to kind of collapse.
I think it'll be
Um,
the Packers more than the Bucks.
I don't know which one, but I just think one of, if it's the Bucks, it's because the wheels just fall off and injuries happen and Brady is distracted. But Brady, I don't think anything phases him football wise. When it comes to the Packers, it could just be that Aaron Rodgers decides to like go off on like a like mushroom melt and is just him and the coach just do not see eye to eye, and it's just kind of like he decides to just phone it in.
He's immunized to pressure. I mean, they get 4 of their 17 games are against the Bears and the Lions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now,
like, yeah, we get the Giants and the
again,
Commanders, but like, they
I,
get the Bears and the
I
Lions.
preface it with call me crazy. I just feel a collapse out of one of those two, which does
Yeah.
give me. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? I've been before. That being said, so then it kind of just gives me some more like wiggle room in the NFC. But yeah, that's the best argument out of everything you said. Otherwise, I'm kind of pretty much spot on.
The
The
Eagles
Eagles are right
can
up there.
the
At least
Eagles
right
can
now.
absolutely steal the bye week. They can absolutely grab the number 1 seed in the NFC, or they could, they could lose the division to Dallas because they're making it close, and all it takes in the NFL is 2 bad weeks, and then you're behind the 8 ball. Like, that's the thing. We're so early in this thing that this team could be the best team in football, the 1 seed, or they're playing wild card weekend.
Yep. Yeah.
But albeit it'll be a home playoff game. Like, this team is a damn good football team, and I'm not calling a Super Bowl. I'm not there yet.
Yep.
But I truly believe this team could make a lot of noise. And it's wild to be thinking right now. We just had an hour of positivity on the Phils. We have more Eagles positivity. We're not talking about the one team that gives us stress in this city, but it's wild. And the Sixers could make a lot of noise this year out of the East. The Union
I
are
I
one of the
am
best
I
teams in
am
MLS.
excited for the Sixers for the first time in I guess what 2 years. Like last season,
As Harden goes, they will go.
when we got Harden, it got exciting again.
I
But
watched
last
every game. Yeah.
season's first half was such a drag with the Simmons trade. It's nice that it feels like there's a roster built around the Sixers. But yeah, it's
Philly was hell for a long time. Philly is now no longer hell. Like, as of 2020, the Flyers were the best team in the city. Going right out of that bubble when sports picked back up
Yep.
in July-ish, the Phils stunk. They couldn't make an 18 playoff in 2020 out of 60 games. The Eagles were the worst team in football, or one of, and they had to tank the last game just to get Devontae. Devontae, and the Sixers didn't come close in 20. So in the bubble, in the NBA bubble. So like, it's crazy how that has turned so fast
It got
to these
swept in the
other 3
bubble, I
teams.
think, right? That was Simmons got hurt, I think, and that
Was it
was
the Celtics?
yeah, Celtics I think swept the Sixers.
And
Yep.
so, like, you think now, just 2 years later, Philly's a pretty damn good place to be sports wise. We're going to have the Union guaranteed playoffs. Phils are in the playoffs. Eagles trending towards the playoffs. Sixers will most likely 99% chance make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're making the playoffs. It just is a matter of
Where?
now it's get out of the second round.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, when your 4 of your 5 major teams are in or will be in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you might have a top 5 pick. That's a good point, Nick. With the
Yeah.
Eagles. Like I don't want to think about
Saints.
draft day yet, but yeah, you know the Saints picks looking mighty fine.
And then the Flyers could be a lottery team and potentially land the generational talent in Connor Bedard, which will instantly turn the franchise around. So, like, or at least get excitement around it, because that management is drilling them into the ground every day. Chuck Fletcher, just the worst. So this is a great time to be a Philadelphia sports fan, and let's just like enjoy the ride. I don't want to be over positive, but I also don't want to take for granted what's in front of us right now. It's a pretty unprecedented time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's
Who's your bomb player? I know it's early,
Uh,
but I want a bomb player this week against the Cardinals.
I didn't. I don't know which Cardinals. Which
All
Cardinals?
right. Oh,
Because I was
Jesus.
gonna
I'm
say
talking football here.
I saw you mentioned that for. I keep doing this. I'm still not used to it. I keep moving my PC mouse to go to my laptop because for years that worked that way. Now it doesn't. But
Anthony's new setup,
I saw
inside baseball.
I saw some. Damn it! I can't use this trackpad to save my life. I did see. I saw some bomb player picks for the Phillies. I could have sworn. Well, get them back in. Get them back in because I can't find them now. I think I saw. I don't remember.
Ricky Ricardo, Jamie Moyer. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, you know what I can do? I can.
Okay, here's instead of bomb player, I'm gonna give you one different. I'm gonna go a different route instead of bomb player. All right. Eagles have had 3 straight NFC Defensive Player of the Weeks. If they have a fourth in this fictional world, who is it?
Bradbury. I'm gonna go with. I think it was Joe's pick. I'm gonna just piggyback off of him. But Bradbury.
Wow. I like it. I like it. I like it. I think we're gonna get a vintage Fletcher Cox game on Sunday.
Um, that's kind of look with Kyler Murray. That's how you turn him into the wild card. You get turnovers. You know,
frustrate him.
You need to put him in the negative in that column, and that's especially how you're going to win this game. So yeah, bomb player this week. Actually, I guess I'll just go with Bradbury now that I said it. But I was going to go defense. So I'll just go with that. I'm gonna. This one's on you, Joe. I'm picking it for Joe, but I'm gonna go with Bradbury because Joe thinks I always disagree with him, but it's only mostly disagreeing.
My
Brandon
bomb
Graham,
player.
That's a good one. That's a good one, Nick.
My overall bomb player is Dallas Goedert.
My fantasy team could use that.
I think Arizona has allowed a touchdown to a tight end every week for the past 8 weeks going into last season. They're last against tight ends against the pass. They just get obliterated by opposing tight ends. I think Nick knows that. I think Shane knows that. Dallas Goedert is one of the most dependable players on the team. I think they exploit that. You could see Jack Stoll have a role. You could see Anthony something or other. I can't remember. He had his first catch when Dallas went out a couple weeks ago. I think
Stoll,
our tight end.
Right? Wasn't it? Or no, you just said
No, Stoll is 89. I think Stoll could have 2 or 3 catches, but I truly believe Dallas Goedert, you could be looking at 7 for 80 and a touch, easy. And I think that's bomb player worthy when you're talking about a tight end. I would not be shocked if Dallas Goedert even gets in the end zone a couple times. This is going to be a big Dallas Goedert game, and that's where I'm at with that.
I love it. That's what I need to hear from my fantasy team. We're looking to get win number 2 and go streaking this week. But no, yeah, Goddard is a very good pick. You're gonna and there's some sexiness to that pick too because he's going up against his old mate in Zach Ertz. So I would love for a big game. And it's funny, you got no yak Zach, and then you got all yak Goddard because Dallas Goedert is king of the screen pass for 26 yards at a pop. Whereas Zach Ertz would just catch a ball across the middle and fall immediately.
He made a football move in the Super Bowl, and that's all I care.
I love Zach Ertz. Don't get me wrong. Don't take that backwards, thing as he's on the other team. So I got to talk a little smack.
He got traded there, though.
I got to be honest. I always hated when people said no yak Zach. I'm like, this dude is one of the best tight ends in the freaking league. What are you complaining about? But now since he's on the other team, I had to say it at least once.
Yeah.
But yeah, and matter of fact, it's someone when I go to games with Keith, someone behind us is always every time he catches it, he would say something, and I just wanted to turn around and be like, "Will you shut the f up?" He's got 9 catches this game. Shut up.
I hate when people hate on players that were traded away as opposed to signed. You want to hate Jason Worth because he signed with the Nats? Fine. I'm not going to hate Zach Ertz because he was traded to the Cards.
Got a Super Bowl ring. I don't hate anybody that's got a Super Bowl ring.
Carson Wentz.
Look,
Carson Wentz. I love what he did, but he's such a turd.
I'm gonna boo him like crazy, but I don't hate him.
He's such a turd. I didn't see Zach Pascal's tweet, by the way. Somebody said
I did. I saw that from it's from Nick and I guess I can try to look it up.
Unless, if you want to put that in chat, I don't. No, I don't know if he's talking about maybe he said he was injured, but no. If I have to be concerned about Zach Pascal, then we're in a rough spot as an Eagles fan base. He's your fourth receiver if you want to say Quez is ahead of him. He's your sixth pass catching option.
It's just
Like I'm
time to
not worried about.
reevaluate everything around me. I don't know. That does
That's
probably
that could be very
that's
personal too.
personal. Yeah,
That could be
that
very
seems like
personal.
personal, not football.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, again,
I don't want him to go down a Jalen Rager path where he tweets out all this crap. Like, oh my god.
yeah. If that were AJ Brown or like Devontae Smith tweeting that,
Jalen Hurts.
maybe I'd think harder about it. But he's the fourth wide receiver, and
On a good day.
he's depth, but he's replaceable. So
he's good depth.
Yeah,
But
again, like he's going to be a useful piece throughout this season. That being said, I hope that's our biggest problem. Like I hope that's a great spot to be in. But yeah, as far as Phillies bomb player, I did have this in mind. I'm gonna go Schwarber.
Mm-hmm.
It was between him or Harper. I'm not gonna lie. I was going between the big ones.
It's tough to pick a starter because they only make an impact on one of the games.
Yeah, that or I was gonna like unless I can go like Wheeler / Nola. Because again,
the starters, right?
Like again,
starters.
hey, we've had weird for bomb player. Like last week, Kevin Christian said I'm going Gannon for my bomb player of the week. I know it's against our rule. I said we don't really have rules. And Gannon was a good pick because you gave him a ton of credit like throughout the show. Even despite like you wanting to. That was a good pick. Last week I picked Kenny Gainwell last week for my Eagles one.
He had a
touchdown.
He did get
a touchdown. I don't give myself credit for it though because I said Kenny Gainwell and it would have worked on that first drive. He dropped it. It was a little probably one of Hurts's few bad passes of the year. But I said he was going to score on the screen pass so that we got to see Fat Man. While he did get a touchdown, which is good enough, I guess for the nod, I don't give myself that one. But yeah,
Phil's player, I'm going Schwarber as well.
Yeah.
How could you not? Like tone setter, veteran, been here before, won a ring.
If in the world that I see the Phillies winning this, I see it going 2-0. Not saying that that's how it's going to go, but in the world that I see the Phillies winning this, I see it going 2-0, and I see him, like, game one, hitting a leadoff home run.
He's going to hit a home run or strike out. That's it.
Yeah,
they are the two outcomes. There is no single. There is no double. There is no walk. He will strike out or he will hit a home run to deep right field. And that is all you're going to get in the top of the first from Kyle Schwarber.
We got a Nick Castellanos in chat. I need that positive energy. That's what we need. Would
I give anything?
Bohm was one. I do remember seeing Bohm.
When Casty signed, like if you want to talk about a fire being lit under Nick Castellanos, and hopefully he could do it. When he signed here, one of the first and only things he said in his intro press conference was like, "Yeah, I've been to the playoffs, but I've never won a game. I've never won a playoff game. I'm here to change that. I get paid to play baseball, not have a college degree, blah blah blah. But I need to win a playoff game. So like, there's a little extra motivation for that guy too. You want some bulletin board material." Guy's never won a playoff game, so
I wish I could just like get into his ear for 1 second too, because I'd be like, yo, if any of this like outside noise by like Philadelphians is pressuring you, just know that like you got 2 games coming up in this year. You played well in both of those games. We forget about everything this year. Like Philadelphians are quick to forget if you produce in big places. So if Castellanos shows up these playoffs, this is like everything, his sins are atoned for this season. And again, I think that he was in I'm not trying to make excuses for him, but I think that he was in kind of a bad spot this year. He did not sign up to be the everyday right fielder. I think him and Schwarber both kind of like are dealing a little bit with that, where they didn't expect to play the field every day, but they had to because of the Bryce injury. And Castellanos just, never got his footing set. He came in, he had Girardi to deal with, then Girardi's gone. Then it seemed like he started to kind of turn things around really slowly. Then he had the injury. So it's like, it's not like Castellanos is playing like the worst season we've ever seen. He's just been like, he's just never got into his like groove.
Yeah,
So
he's had streaks of 6 weeks or more where he's hit over 380. Like he's had the ability to carry a team on his back. He was hitting, I think, 320 or 330 when he got hit in the thumb or finger in May and never went on the DL or IL. And I think that had a little bit to play into it. But also, Nick, like, I think the reason everybody was so down on him for a while, and I can agree, everything looked effortless. And I don't mean a good kind of effortless.
yeah.
Everything looked like a lazy swing, chasing sliders out of the zone by 3 feet, like just everything was just kind of a meek swing. And in Philadelphia, we love the effort. And when you play a terrible defense in right field, you really kind of have to be there at the plate, at least showing effort, which is where I think Bryson Stott is like the opposite of that. Yeah, he was hitting 180, but it was the best damn 180 I've ever seen, especially when you couple in the fact that a rookie played some pretty solid defense up the middle in a spot where the Phils needed him the most. And just like if Nick hustled, man, unbutton, bro. You were like Captain Swagger, and now all of a sudden you look like a nun. Bro, go back to it. Open up the buttons a little bit. Let the old little chest hair dangle. Let's see a big hit in game one. Let's set a tone. Let's go, Phils. Let's go, Birds. I cannot wait.
I completely agree with you. I guess we got, was there Eagles trivia still?
There was a
Do we
one
want to get
Eagles
that
trivia
in
question.
as a little part of the
I It's so easy. I couldn't think of any. I thought of these all off the top of my head, by the way. I wasn't on like any websites or anything. And I have a Flyers trivia and an Eagles trivia. The Flyers one's pretty down, so I'll give it to you because it's just a downer. I don't know why I thought of it. What goalie gave up the final goal of the 2010 Stanley Cup?
Michael Layton. Shit,
and,
my birthday buddy right there.
and like I said, this Eagles one's painfully
I can
easy,
even tell
but-
you it was Kane that scored that one.
Yes, it was through the wickets too, right through the 5-hole. This is just one of my favorite plays, and so I wanted to encapsulate the play in a trivia question. In the 2018, technically, but I mean the 2017 season, the Super Bowl season, in the NFC title game against the Vikings, what wide receiver caught the flea flicker from Foles?
Smith?
Torrey Smith.
Yeah. Because that was the
for a
thing.
touchdown.
Torrey Smith, like,
He made the catch off the dude's knee.
Torrey Smith, get him to Nick Castellanos, because Torrey Smith had a terrible regular season, and guess what? That man will never buy a drink in this town.
That catch he made against the Falcons at the end of the half where it bounced off the dude's knee is one of the most underrated catches you'll ever see. And then the flea flicker for a touchdown. Like, he had a great playoffs, and that's all we're asking from Nick.
His playoff run wiped away everything. Because if you talk to people, like, go just tomorrow, everyone's got to just go around town, like, ask one what do you think of Torrey Smith? Oh man, he was great that year. Like, everyone will say the same thing, but then you go look at the numbers, especially in the regular season. Like, the dude was missing half the games. He really didn't produce. But guess what? He had an amazing playoffs, and that's all we need out of Nick Castellanos. All we need.
One of them made $20 million. The other one did not.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. Castellanos was paid to be Harper, Schwarber, Cassidy.
You're right. Yeah.
And Torrey Smith was not.
That's the caller has a point. Yeah, no, it's true. But again, I don't think, especially with baseball, where it's like not necessarily a cap, I don't know that money means all. Like, just produce right now for us, and I think it comes down. And I'm confident about this team. I don't know that I'm confident about Nick Castellanos. I gotta be honest. But again, I think that between him, someone's gonna hopefully come alive in these 3 games, and I keep saying 2 because I'm just trying to put it out there. But I think the Phillies need to look at it in that way too, with a sense of urgency that, hey, we got to look at it like this, especially if we lose game 1, which I don't want to even think about.
Game 1 means everything.
You got to know that this is only 2 games then, and you need to force that 3rd game.
In a short series, game 1 is everything. In a 7-gamer, you can come back from game 1, because if you win game 2 on the road, well, you still took home field advantage away from the other team, and you did it recently, so the momentum has started to shift. So to me, game 2 is the biggest game in a 7-game series as the visitor, but in a short series, game 1 is everything. Need Wheels, need Schwarber, need Bomer. Let's go, man, in like what's this, Wednesday night? In
Mm-hmm.
36 hours, we're gonna watch playoff baseball.
I'm excited. Greg, you got any other final thoughts tonight or anything?
No, if you haven't been paying attention, the Philadelphia Union are just destroying everything. They've put up 7 goals multiple times. Um, they're one of the top 3 teams in the MLS, and so or in MLS. I don't want to say the MLS. I'll get dunked on. But this is a team that's looking for revenge. They made it to the conference finals this year. They are one of the favorites to win the MLS Cup. This is Selection Sunday coming up. This Sunday, it's their final game of the season. The table's going to be set for the playoffs, ready to rock for that. Um, I won't be on next week, most likely. So I'll just say my prediction for the Flyers is last in the Metro and a top 5 pick. I know that the rules are changing around that, but if they could grab the number 1 selection by hooks or by crooks and get Connor Bedard, I'd be one happy camper. But I think the Flyers, although they have some talent, uh, they're just such a poorly run organization that I just think they have nowhere to go.
My final thought is Aaron Judge is the home run king. Do you agree with that or disagree?
Oh, you don't mean the American League home run
No, I
king. You
mean
mean the home run king.
I said it. I posted on Facebook. I got flagged for it, and I said what I said.
Man, how much time we got? It's one of those things where I wish I could be selective of my steroids. Like I wish I could say, yeah, McGuire and Sosa don't count, but like Bonds does. And if like I could, that's what I would say. But because I can't, I'm just gonna say it must be great to be number 7 on the all-time leaderboard for
Yeah.
Aaron Judge. What a feat to hit the 7th most home runs in a season. Asterisks are asterisks, but the record books show it, man. He's not. And by letter of the law, he's not. It's cool because it happened in front of our eyes. We were old enough to remember it and watch it as it happened, which you can't say the same for the Bonses and the McGuires and the Sosas. We were youngsters. We saw it, but we
I
couldn't
remember.
soak it in.
I'm not gonna. I
I do too.
remember watching McGuire hit 62 live.
But I also remember like saying to my dad, "Why'd they cut away from The Simpsons?" Like it's one of those,
That's
you're a
what I'm
kid.
saying. That's like that's why I remember because they cut away to it, and like I remember that happening.
Yeah,
thought that
I
was
just
pretty
wanted to go
It's funny 'cause
skate.
people were bitching about it nowadays,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wow, that was so cool when they did it. Like I don't know, maybe it's just because I was a kid and now I'm old.
It's because it's the Yankees and it's because it's not the all-time record. If he was going for 74,
Yeah.
okay, people wouldn't complain
So
as much.
my statement aside, I still think 62 is a feat, and I think
Yeah,
that
bro,
it will always
20
be a feat.
20,000 people have played this game and 7 of them have had a season like this
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
And 3 of them were illegitimate. Like how could you not be in love with that? Did you see? You want to talk about a final? I'll get back to Judge in a second. You want to talk about a final thought and baseball being so romantic? Did you watch the Oakland Athletics Angels game
Oh,
today?
I saw their post. I didn't get to listen to it because it was like
So
because
Stephen Vogt,
their Facebook or their social media post was how could you not be romantic about baseball? And I was like, oh, that's the heartstrings because I fucking love that movie.
Stephen Vogt, who actually played for the Braves for a little bit, and we've seen him in this in this division. He's a longtime catcher. I think he was a longtime A, and he went back there this year as his swan song. He's very old. He Today's his last game. He's retiring at the end of the year. He wanted to go out with the Athletics, the same team he came up with and had success with early in his career. And so, with the last game today, it was in Oakland. By the way, Mike Trout hit a 490-foot homer today. Same game. When he came up to the plate for his first AB, and the announcers came on and said, "Now batting, catcher Stephen Vogt." Bro, it was his kids. Now batting, our daddy,
Oh, that's cool.
Stephen Vogt. He hit a fucking homer.
Yeah.
Pardon my language. Pardon my
No,
language.
we're here for it.
Dude, he hit a homer. Not the same at bat. It was 2 ABs later. But his kids announced him. He didn't know it was coming, so he got all teary-eyed at the plate. And then two at-bats later, in his last at-bat of his career, he hits a homer. And wait till you hear the call. The announcers, dude, are going crazy. The color guy, are you kidding me? Let's go. Let's do it. Like, it was amazing. And I even told Ashley this story like earlier. I was like, I know you don't care about
I
baseball, but
know.
like, this is a cool thing that happened. But
Yeah.
yeah, Judge has one of the best seasons of all time. There's no doubting it. But to me, Barry Bonds is the home run king. I know I'm lame.
No, look, I'm not. I kind of just wanted to. I made the statement to get the to get the ball rolling and just start
I've called you
conversation.
weird 5 times this week. That's
Yeah.
the least. That's the least
So
weird thing you've
my
said.
my take on it is, I think we as a baseball community need to figure out how we're gonna handle the steroid era, because we can't just act like it didn't happen, and we can't just like we just have to like come as a collective and be like, okay, these records either do or don't exist. But like, it's a weird time. Like, I had a little rant like it was like on the anniversary of McGuire hitting 62, and I'm like, that moment was so huge. Like, we just talking about it again, that moment was so huge for me as a young baseball fan. And again, I remember watching it live on TV, and it's crazy like where we were and how that just kept moving year after year after year as they just kept injecting more and more into their body, apparently. But we all sat here and just drooled over it, and now we just like act like that time period in baseball doesn't exist, and it's just awkward. But
By the way, the
I
Cardinals
digress.
have not yet announced the starter for Game 1.
Oh, that's because they're scared.
Technically, the Phils haven't either, but we know it's Wheeler.
Yeah,
I'd imagine we're getting Adam Wainwright,
Wainwright. Yeah,
but they just technically have not announced one. Every other team has,
they're
by the way.
scared.
Every other team. Scherzer is going in Game 1 for the Mets. Darvish for the Padres in Game 1. Alek Manoah, Luis Castillo for the Mariners, Blue Jays, and Shane McClanahan, Shane Bieber for the Guardians and Rays. So Friday is going to be a fantastic day of baseball. I cannot wait.
Me either. Well, I got my final thoughts in then. Anything else tonight, Greg?
I'd like to thank, if you guys are in here and you are watching us and you've also heard my pod, we podcast and we know things. If you are or were ever a listener to that, we had just wrapped our 300th episode. In reality, it was like 350, 360, something like that, but we don't count our interviews and stuff. Our mainline nerdy news episodes, 300, just over 6 years. And we recently also announced we're no longer a weekly podcast. We're going to be going once a month. And I got a DM. So this final thought is a shout out to a listener, a random listener in Indiana, Tyler. He shot us a video DM thanking us for everything we did and the impact it made on him and listening to us with his son. And like, it made everything worth it. So while we're going monthly and we're changing the format, it's going to be much more laid back. No more nerdy news recap and more of just like what happened this past month and what can we talk about. And I'm very much looking forward to that. It's going to free me up to come on here a little bit more, this and the. But if you are a listener to both shows, I just want to say a thank you. So thank you. If you've listened to We Podcast and We Know Things 1 time, 10 times, 100 times, thank you. If you haven't yet, please consider it. If you don't, that's cool too. We put a lot of love into that podcast. And so We Podcast, We Know Things, rip to the week, but on to a new era once a month in your podcast feeds.
Yeah, and I look, obviously got a bit of a bias, but I can't recommend it enough. I do my damnedest to not, but I always end up blowing Greg and Sam up every time I listen, and I just become Twitch chat to their to their phones as I'm going through.
We have a group text with you just for that.
Yeah,
It's pretty special.
yeah.
It's pretty special.
So yeah, it's obviously hard bias, but man, you guys, it's like an hour plus of just a fun escape. And I binge your shows. I just go like 3 or 4 at a time, and I'm like, all right, I just spent my day with my boys, and it's like an extra great, like for work, it like puts me in a better place. And I hope that, you know, someone else new finds you guys and feels that same way.
Thank
because
you.
I know it's out there.
I appreciate that. I'm also very much looking forward for the first time since December 30th of last year. Me, you, Sam, we're going to see each other on Sunday. We're going to hang out Sunday. So I'm very excited to see you guys.
well, yeah. Now we know the times. We'll be playing some cards. Sam gets his wish. We're still gonna
we'll
get a
play
game
some
of cards in.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna watch some birds, maybe even some Phils. Yeah, can't wait. Cannot
Looking
wait.
forward to it. And thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight, man. It's always great to be back. We went 2 hours.
Yeah, it was
God,
a double header tonight.
Yeah,
I always,
you all knew when I come on, I talk, so you know that was
yeah,
happening.
and look, it doesn't. You're not here every week too, so I'm like, I know it's gonna be a long one, and I'm here for it. So it's settled in now. Now this chair is properly moist underneath me.
I'm about to go settle down with some Haagen-Dazs coffee ice cream to end my night.
Definitely going ice cream. I think I might do the cookies and cream cone. The Klondike.
That's not a bad deal.
The Klondike cones, chat.
Klondike cones. Yo, do you watch Good Mythical Morning?
No.
Rhett and Link on
No.
YouTube every day, 6:00 a.m. every day, 5 days a week. It's a 20-minute show. It's a morning show basically, but like they do weird taste tests and stuff like that. We tried every Klondike bar and let's rank them, and the cones won. So
yeah, the cookies and cream cones are life changing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go have some ice cream. I'm gonna watch some YouTube. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go watch How I Met Your Mother. I'm gonna eat some ice cream. That's what I'm gonna do.
Greg, I thank you so much for hopping on with us, and chat. Thank you guys all for tuning in, both live and on demand. But I think it's time to put a bow on this pretty show. With that, I am Anthony Pinto,
and I'm Greg Hall,
and we are out of here.